hello there. I don't have my fireplace going. Whoops, I forgot to plug my microphone in. I'll edit that out of this video. I was so tired last night I actually passed out just from exhaustion of things to do. Well, happy birthday to me. I never celebrated a birthday. I never had like a birthday party or birthday cake. I mean, I actually never liked sweets, fat or skinny. I never really liked the sweets. It's just too sickening. You just know it's not good for you. I can never understand whether somebody was skinny or big. They could just sit there and eat, you know, that, it's just like lard with sugar in it, which is basically what icing is, and that fluffy cake, you know. I've eaten a slice of cake maybe a few times in life, but I think everybody assumes, including me, that if you're overweight that you've been eating candy bars and cake. I never did do any of that stuff, so I turned 53 today. I wanted to talk about a few important things in this video, but I'd kind of like it to be a casual video if that's okay. Every birthday something bad happens. I was waiting for something bad to happen today, and I was like, well, maybe nothing bad will happen. And sure enough, I got a text. I've only got 2 rental properties. This is where they got the idea. I have a few buddies. They have a lot of rental property. You know, they just take vacations whenever, too. They just decide they're going to go to Tahiti tomorrow. Well, they're just going to book a trip to Tahiti. It doesn't matter what it costs. They go there. I know I'm never going to get that place in life. I just wish I had more free time. So I was waiting for something bad to happen, since it's not my birthday unless something bad happens. And I have a 5-acre property. I've only got 2 rental properties. And the 5 acre is 5.1 acres. It's only $550 a month. And my income is down, literally, I've calculated it, 65%. I have 4 jobs. I do leather work. I do these videos. I do a lot of writing. Not that that makes me any money. Like, I do paid for translations and articles. Sometimes I get paid for. I haven't been paid for writing anything. And that was an introduction to a book. That was a half a year ago. But I still do a lot of writing, and I do land investigations for people. So I technically have 4 jobs. Anyway, there's this beautiful 5-acre property with a cave on it, and it's very picturesque, and it's super fast access to everything. It's right on the main road. And it's only $550 a month. And that's like, what, $110 basically an acre. And every month, they've got an excuse, like, oh, I'm going to get the money out to you promptly on time. And sure enough, she's like, oh, and I'm not questioning this. You know, I had a medical emergency, blah, blah, blah. You're supposed to set, and this is how wise/intelligent people think, kind of like I do. I've got $4,000 of property taxes coming up from my land. And I've had it set aside for months. I put a little bit away, a little bit away. You set it aside, and you don't count that money because you know it's got to go towards the tax man, it's got to go here, it's got to go there. And she said, oh, I'm not going to be, I'm going to send you like $100 this week, and the text message, and like $200 next week, and like the remaining $250 a week after that. It's like, I have to pay bills. I'm the best landlord anybody could hope to find. I'm very kind and generous. And when you ruin that, you got a problem. Some people just will find a way to do anything. And this is where we get that phrase, don't let your mouth write checks that your buttocks cannot pay. I talked to my renter buddy who has a lot of rental property. He says, and he's been doing it for decades and decades and decades. And if you ever want to measure about how bad things are, because you got to keep a roof over your head. You know, you could skimp on this and skimp on that and blah, blah. You don't skimp on the roof over your head. And he says it's the worst he's ever seen in his entire life. And dude, I've known this dude my whole life. He's been doing it for decades and decades. He says this is the worst he's ever seen. So that is a real indicator of where things are going. Like the last video, 2 videos ago, people are like, oh, you're a doom and gloomer. I'm not a doom and gloomer at all. I'm not. I just see the reality of things. I'm not interested. Doom and gloom, you know, oh no, sky is falling. That doesn't help anybody. I've only got 2 rental properties, and I don't get to keep a penny of it. You could say in a roundabout way I do. I just use it to pay bills. I hope you like the free articles and books I've written over the years. I continue to post a lot of stuff to Substack. You know, if you subscribe, everything there is for free. The many books I've written are for free, including the countless articles that I write. This is why it's important to find time for deep thought and writing. You know, anybody could write any sort of blathering nonsense. Well, a lot of people can't, actually. They can't even write blathering nonsense. But to write technical stuff that explains things that nobody's explained before, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's as hard as digging a ditch in 100-degree heat. It's a different type of exercise. By the way, wise words are you should never take advantage of a kind and generous person. But what people do in their ignorance is they confuse kindness for weakness. And I'm extremely kind, but I guarantee you I ain't weak. I got quite a backbone. You say, you know, you're pudgy, you're nothing but bald, hairless, tattooed ink. And it's like, well, all of that's true, but I can guarantee you I'm not weak. You know, words are cheap too. I can't stand useless words. Even people that don't like me, it's like, and they've even told me. They won't tell me the they don't like me part because I know it. I can see through people like tissue paper. But what they have says, I know I can rely on you. You know what? You do what you say and you say what you do, and I can trust you for doing the things that you promised me. In other words, it used to be that your promise and your words were like a check, and you'd have a $25 bounced check fee. But you can never recover from the bounced check fee where your words end up hollow. And like, I can never trust that person again, That was it. I've been burned by that person. So I knew something bad would happen on my birthday, and there it is. I need that actually to pay bills, but find another. This person has been late month after month after month. Unfortunately, I gave them a 45-day grace period, at which point eviction can start. So they're going to be well within the eviction period that's written into the contract. I assume they know that, but I think they're trying to take advantage of me, but I'm not. I'm kind, but I'm not weak. If you like these videos and stuff, I love making discoveries in field theory, and the simplicity of all is absolutely mind-numbing. And the more mind-numbing thing is getting people to see the simplicity of it all. I take Venmo or even Amazon gift card, anything. Any donation is always greatly welcome. I do read every comment, whether you believe it or not. I'm always proving everybody wrong. Oh, I doubt you read every comment. So yeah, I do. I read every comment. I don't reply to everyone, but I do. I greatly appreciate that. That's in the description of every video. Just wanted to send an email and talk with me. Some guy was 2 weeks ago on live stream. He said, feeling really, really down. I don't want to use the word. Starts with an S. And he gave me his number. I called him twice that night and 2 or 3 times the next morning, and he never replied. He was dead serious. I hope what he was implying didn't happen. Some people are just trying to reach out, and other people are, I don't care. What did they do for me? I don't know this person, but I tried to reach out. I never got a hold of them. I emailed them, and I called them at the number that they gave me. I hope nobody gets to that point, but I know people do, because they see their life in upheaval. And I know what that feeling's like. I don't lead any kind of glamorous life. I haven't been down to my cabins for 10 months, and I went there yesterday. And every time I go down there, it's just an enormous amount of work. I had to pay very, very, very dearly to a guy trim around, the property and, take care of that. But he didn't get inside the cabin, so I had to do that. It was a lot of dead bugs and whatnot. And I knew it would be that way since I hadn't been there in 10 months. But I did start a fire, and I kicked back for like, I don't know, half an hour to relax. But my back still hurts. By the way, if you've ever got a mouse problem, I've tried absolutely everything. You should think about getting these. These work super awesome. That's kind of a segue into... you start talking about metaphysics and you start talking about mousetraps. These are called Tomcat press and sets. These are reusable. In other words, once they've achieved their goal, you could use them again and again and again. You stick, I found that they love almond butter. The best thing I've found is almond butter. I know peanut butter works too. You stick a little bit in this little crevice down here, you lift this up and it's set. And once they press down on this little sucker, then there we go. These are great. There was a mousetrap better than this. It was twice the price. And it worked great. But you know what they did? It makes no sense to me at all. They changed it. And the way they changed it, it doesn't work at all anymore. They're like, we're going to improve this thing. And now it doesn't work at all. I can't use that anymore. People are like, it must be something wrong with your house if you got a little Mises. I know that's not the plural of mouse, Mises. That's from a cartoon from when I was super young. It's a cat that says he hated Mises to pieces. Yeah, I know Mises, not the plural of mouse. And but they can fit through the tiniest little crevice in your foundation or whatnot. I don't know how they're getting in, but you know, this is a brick house. There's always a way in for a mouse. I don't know if you've heard about, and everybody's been talking about it, including in the Senate, the Irish guy that when he landed in Heathrow, there were 5 people like this, like he was Osama himself. And they arrested the guy. He's like a pudgy, I think he wrote a TV show called Father Ted. I don't know his name. He's a pudgy Irish dude. He's like mid-50s or something like that. And they were down on him at Heathrow. Down on the ground! It's like, because of a couple tweets he made. I didn't know this, but last year, Russia, it was, and I'm not defending Russia. Russia was like 300 or 400 arrested for social media posts. It's probably a lot higher than that. But in the UK, it was over 3,300. I don't know where the UK is going. Actually, I do know where they're going. The one good thing about totalitarianism, however, is that it never works. But the question that needs to be begged, and I used to be an expert at chess. I haven't played chess for over 20 years, but I was the chess master in high school and college. I beat everybody. I don't know if that's a good thing. It actually helps you see several moves ahead. So it's a good training tool, even though I don't believe in playing games unnecessarily. If it sharpens your mind, it's a good thing. Is that regarding tyranny, do these people now have the tools to make it work? Tyranny's never worked in the past, but we have to beg the question, do they have the tools now to make it happen? I mean, do they have mind control? Do they have ultimate force multipliers? Do they have omnipresence through media and tracking systems? And I think we all know the answers to those questions. There's actually a laundry list of about 10 more points. And the question is that these people know that totalitarianism and tyranny don't work, but do they have the tools to make it happen now? And I think the answer is yes. Can you move up into the cabins and completely isolate yourself without social media and a cell phone? Yeah, absolutely. My grandfather taught me how to grow veggies. I know how to grow food. I know how to get the furry, warm-blooded critters for food also. I'm really good at that. I'm only preparing. I'm not interested in fearmonger. I'm interested in preparing for contingencies. Like this person that's been late every month on paying their rent. You know, they're either the biggest excuse maker on earth, or these people just don't prepare. Like, I know my property taxes are coming. Ain't no way out of them, despite what you think. Land patent. If people tell me all this crazy nonsense that doesn't actually exist, I'm prepared for it. You know, there's some things you can't prepare for. You might, your heart might get a flat tire tomorrow or something. It's like, well, I couldn't prepare for that. I didn't know it was coming. There's that stuff in life. It's things you know are coming, like the rent's due the first week of the month. I'll set that aside, not count it. I know it's coming. Pretty important to have a roof over your head. At $110 an acre, $550 for 5 acres, I mean, I undersold it. This is a problem. Other people that actually do services for other people, they will tell you this, and this is true. If you have way more problems undercharging for something than you do slightly overcharging or overcharging for it. when you set a normal price or a high price for something, you weed out all the deadbeats. If you give a great price on something, then this is just like turning on the bug zapper. Yeah? You know that blue light where the mosquitoes fly into? You know, the light of doom. Zzz, zzz, zzz. That's what happens if you charge a good price and you're nice. You know, you've basically like left your house doors open while you go in bed. Okay, go inside. Take anything you want. Oh, sure. Great idea. People will take advantage of that. And, you know, 53 years old, I mean, I've known this for years, but it's kind of a realization people only have later in life, is that if you're too nice, people will, you know, if you charge a good price for something, then you'll have every, hello, I heard you've got a RAV4 in the backyard with only 20,000 miles on it, and you're only selling it for $5,000. You know, somebody will be knocking at your door or, you know, blasting your phone every 5 minutes. And then you'll have to answer a million questions like, you know, this is a RAV4 Toyota and it's only got a few thousand miles on it. And they'll ask you more questions than if you had quadruple the price and quadruple the miles on the car. As an example, you'll have a lot fewer people, and the person that buys it will be the one that won't have any questions about it. Okay, I've looked it over. I'll take it. Here's the cash. Boom. Bye. That's so true. There's all these contractors that'll tell you the same thing. You guys are like, ever since I quadrupled my prices, I'm making the same amount of money as I was before, but my stress level is like 100% less, and I don't have deadbeats, you know, complaining about nonsense. You know, people, they get quality work, and this really is true. Maybe this should be a reason why I should be charging for my articles or my books, but I don't. I've actually made a promise to divine entities and powers that be, you take your pick at what that meaning is, that I would never charge for articles written on complex metaphysics and answers to these problems that nobody's made an answer or an explanation to before. And I'm actually happy and proud to do that. I've made that promise and I stick to it. It's actually something that I can never trespass against. Even though I need to and my income's down 65%, I'm not going to do that. Somebody doesn't have to pay in my Substack or pay for any article or book that I've written, and you know, I do talk to people on the phone for free. It's like, what should I do? So, well, you can call for free. You know, just don't monopolize too much of my time. I'm not at, well, what do you want? I was like, nothing. You know, just go ahead and call. I made the statement before, and it's partially correct as I meant it to be. As I've said a million times, that everything is fields, and fields are not particles. However, ultimately they are, since particles, of course, are just, and this is a reconciliation of light and matter, which I both extremely proud of and extremely ashamed of the fact that I didn't figure this out ages before this. I was just focused on too many different things. Is that super high capacitance light, it's a fundamental hydrogen particle, and hydrogen compounded is, of course, every atom that exists in the universe. So ultimately everything is fields, but we actually have to reduce that even further, and this gets back to simplicity as divinity. And this, of course, is that all fields are just ether perturbation modalities. Or to even simplify that further, they're actually disturbances or frequency vibrations of the ether as conjugate manifestations or bubbles in the ether, if you will. The only thing that we're actually able to measure, whether it be joules, watts, volts, amps, and so on and so forth, are energy manifestations. Energy, by definition or denotation, unfortunately, unlike Wikipedia or anything you see online, is they'll say it's the ability to do work. So, well, that's descriptive, but it's not explicative. True energy is always rest energy. That would be analogous to this battery being untapped. However, that analogy is a little too simple, and it's not exactly accurate and palpable of the mind to be able to wrap itself around that. As people like, what's the ether made of? Well, it's not made of anything. If it were made of anything, it wouldn't be the ether at all. Well, what's the definition of energy? I mean, the ether. And that's rest inertia. This is absolute, sheer, unmanifest potential. No Cartesian component. You can't point to it. It's obviously not objective. Everything that's objective is a field modality conglomerate, as all matter is. And all matter is compounded hydrogen. And hydrogen is just super high capacitance light. And what is light? Light is a compound ether perturbation modality. Specifically, it is a coaxial circuit. Oh, what does coaxy mean? Well, most people don't know the cross-section of a coax cable, obviously, but it's just a compound field circuit. Specifically, it's a pinch wrinkle of the ether, this thing that we call light. Transverse electrical magnetic is a blinking torus. Yeah? That's all light is, with a set frequency, and of course the frequency is analogous to its capacitance or its energy potential, just this torus blinking in and out of existence with X number of cycles. So the simplicity of natura naturans, or specifically cosmic mechanics, is really simple. I've actually had this interest my entire life because there's no distinction between physics and metaphysics. It's like talking about the head side of a coin versus the tail side of a coin, because there is no such thing. There's only the silver of the coinage. We can talk about the head over here and the tail over there, but ultimately it's all one and the same thing. Does this, of course, beg the question, making the universe holographic? In other words, is the holographic paradigm actually real? And the answer is, connotatively it is, but denotatively not. The definition of a hologram is projective geometry regarding a reference beam and the reflectance beam off of an object. And so the universe is not technically holographic, but analogously in connotation it of course is. This makes the universe so simple. Everything is field pressure mediation. Everything is fields, and even particles are fields. They're just compound ether conglomerates. Light is a pinch wrinkle of the ether. Light is a compound ether circuit or field modality. Everything is compounded of hydrogen. So we get from simplicity to complexity. And complexity, of course, terminates back in simplicity. This is the reason why there are no straight lines in the universe, contrary to what Sir Isaac Newton said. Everything is curvilinear because everything is tied at the stake of rest. That rest is ground, you could say counter space, which is kind of a nonsense word, but it's just simplex field pressure mediation. Seeing the beauty and simplicity of the universe is true wisdom, this divine beauty, and it is simplicity. The filth and absurdity and the wretched black mire of ignorance of this universe is not seeing and seeking same. When you actually, people ask you a question about something in public, and they expect an answer, but they expect it in a couple seconds. And you talk for more than 5 seconds, their eyes roll into the back of their head. And it's as social media has conditioned their consciousness in such a way that it is impossible for them to learn anything. Nor can they want to learn anything because you can't stick it into a 5-second soundbite. Actually, you can. I can stick it into a 5-second soundbite, but it just begs more and more questions. Even the term ignorance, and that when you try to tell somebody something with facts today, they do not want to hear the facts. The greater distinction I have are not ignorant versus wise or intelligent people. And intelligence is nothing to be greatly praised, because the most heinous people that have ever lived on this earth have been unwise yet extremely intelligent people. I mean, that is a fact. That's not my opinion. It's this love of ignorance. It's one thing not to know something. And innocence and ignorance are the exact same thing. Somebody is young and they're innocent and they're ignorant. They don't know the way things work. But they're like a sponge. They do want to learn. For the most part, they do anyway. They love learning stuff. But that gets burned out of people in public school system. And the other horror of all of this is the term avidya and agnosis don't actually mean ignorance. Explaining what avidya or agnosis actually mean itself becomes both futile and a type of horror itself. Every translation from Greek, Pali, and Sanskrit exactly the same way translates these terms as ignorance. They don't mean ignorance. That's how every translation has them. That's not what the term means. It's like, well, sure, that's what it means. Like, well, you could kind of say that, but that doesn't give somebody the grasp of what it is actually referring to. The core of emanationism, which is the total opposite of materialism/atheism, and also the total opposite of all religious creationism, is based in this understanding what the term avidya or agnosis actually means. And it becomes almost futile. And I've got countless articles on Substack and many videos on same, and it still confuses people. One word confuses people. This is both the beauty and the horror of this universe. Its simplicity is so awe-inspiring. I see it clearly and loosely. I understand what the word logos means. So what does that logos translate? Well, there's no single English word for the word logos. Depends on the context in which it's used, but it really only means one thing. But there ain't no English word for it. Yeah, no, ain't's not a word. The older you get, the more you realize how unimportant things are. In other words, if you only had 24 hours left to exist, what are the things that are really important that you need to get done and need to have said? And it all fit inside of a thimble. There's really not much, and we waste our lives with so much horrific minutia, just unimportant things. As one person humorously called it, sewing buttons on ice cream. Rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Futile, useless, unimportant. I have a lot of articles that I'm working on, and I have 2 little booklets that I'm working on. People say, when are they going to get done? It's like, well, that's great. You know, it took me 10 months to find time to go to the cabin for a day, and it was rain. It hasn't rained in a whole month, but it decided to rain on the one day that I was able to, you know, slice off to head to the cabin. Oh well. You know, I'll get it done as soon as possible. I don't socialize or, you know, do things with other people. I work. Some of the work is greatly enjoyable, some of it is mundane, and I have to do everything around this house. Not that this is hard work. I do love these mouse traps, by the way. These are great. You sit there and you set it. Whoops, there we go. And you set it right there. And then, I was going to put something in there, but I hope you like these videos. The name of this video is Don't Watch This Video. So if you complain about it, I will remind you that I said don't watch this video. I'd like to see you all on live stream tonight, and the same will be true for Sunday night. If you like these videos and the articles that I write and the audio that I post on Substack, and also too in the links below, including codexes, the Codex About Evil, the Codex Universalis, the other codexes that I've written on gravity, field theory. Any donation is very, very warmly welcome. Amazon, I have Venmo, that's in the description as well. If you don't like PayPal, I have Venmo. If you don't like either one of those, I have, you know, Amazon gift is always great just for buying daily necessities of things. I lead a simple life. I'd kind of like to keep it that way as much as possible, but it's just a life of chores and things. But I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. So I'm 53 today. If this video annoyed you, I humbly apologize for that. You can't be all things to all people, but I'd at least like to be helpful and post important information, and especially neat discoveries that nobody's written about before. Thank you so much for watching. Lux e veritas. Thank you. And there go the lava lamps. I had to get new bulbs for both of these. I think we're at $2 a piece. You guys spare lava lamp bulbs. Thanks.